It's Corso and Catone. Brought to you by Corso Law Group, Arizona's leading criminal and traffic law firm. Now for the real deal New England feel. Corso and Catone.
Welcome into Corso and Catone, the real deal New England feel. I'm Corso. Catone is here. Joe's with us in the booth. You're watching us on YouTube, listening on iHeartRadio, 790 The Score. Anyway you podcast, you can catch us. And, hey, shoot us an email in our mailbag, corso.catone@gmail.com. Anything's on the table. You can give us a call, too, in our heated hotline, 855-313-PATS, P-A-T-S, 24/7. Leave us a message. Mark will, maybe Mark or Joe will pick yours, you know. They don't let me pick anymore. They don't.
Well, you can't pick. Forget it.
You know. They keep calling me T-Rex. So, anyway, so give us a call and heated hotline. Got a good one. And B's and C's. Okay, B's are out. C's are in. We're going to talk about that. And, of course, Catone's comments. Stick around for that. And in Pat's Nation, hey, OTAs happened a little bit. A little of that. So we'll talk about that and a little bit of the state of the Patriots. And, of course, Yankees versus Red Sox. Mark has a lot to say on that. You know what? I have a lot to say on that.
Yes, so you do this week. You do.
Gentlemen, how are we doing?
Excellent.
I can't look at the TV behind me. I don't want to look at it.
You can't.
The conversation Mark and I had before we came on was, okay, what do you want to do? It's Thursday, so we're recording. The Celtics are playing game 2. Do you want to watch it over my shoulder, or do we want to start it from the beginning after the taping? We decided to start it from the beginning. So don't say anything, Joe.
Okay.
Don't tell us. But what we are going to discuss we're going to talk B's and C's, Bruins, Celtics. Going to do it now, Joe.
Hit it! And over the Boston Celtics are the world champions, and they have shown the world how great a ball club they really are. Screen shot,
So, Mark, let's start with the Celtics. So they end that series, and we talked about that. They finished up in 5 games against Cleveland, like they should have. Had another bad game, too, in that series. And here we are now against the Pacers. And you and I talked about this and said, well, pick the poison or not so much poison. What do you want? You want New York? You want Indiana? Kind of wanted New York.
Yeah, we did.
Worried about the bigs, just Turner just a little bit, and I think we had reason to, judging from game 1. But they win game 1 in dramatic fashion in overtime. Okay.
Indiana gave you the game, but we'll get into that.
We're going to talk about that right now. So, Mark, let's talk about game 1. I think there's a lot of things we can glean from that game. So, your impressions.
It was typical Celtics, Chris, in my opinion. I mean, they did what they always do on offense. They instead, listen, this team, the way they're currently constructed, Chris, I don't know if there's a team left in the playoffs that can stop them from going to the basket and scoring whenever they want, whether it's Tatum, Brown, any of those guys, Chris. But yet they're still taking 3 after 3 after 3. And they just keep teams in the game by doing that. Yeah. Indiana had no business, Chris, being in that game. But yet, fourth quarter, they're in the game.
Yeah. We took 45 threes.
That's what we're gonna. That's what Mazzulla wants them to do. He wants them to take that many threes. Yeah, yeah.
Not good.
No,
not good. And there's some other things.
You think their percentage of threes would go up by this point after taking so many?
That's his hope.
That's his hope. Yeah,
that's his hope. But guys like Derek White have been ice cold. I think Drew Holiday had a great game.
He had a great game 1, yeah. He did. What did you see, Chris? What did you see?
A couple of things. The defensive intensity was lacking. Okay. Indiana's a team that likes to play out at the perimeter. Okay. So Miles Turner, who pretty much had whatever he wanted in this game, you could see Indiana's game plan, or Carlisle, up until the fourth quarter. For some reason, he gave it away. And Mark's going to talk about that. But, they're trying to be patient for the switch. They're trying to get the matchup they want with Turner. And a lot of times you had Pritchard on him. You had Derek White on him. And that's what they're looking for. And he's got an easy 20-foot, 15-footer easy baskets, right? And that's a problem for them all day because no Porzingis. Al Horford, when he's in there, did a good job, did a better job. But when he's 38 years old, when he's got to get some rest, here comes Cornette. Listen, I gave Cornette a lot of props in that first series. But as the components get better and playoffs get long, he's a bench player for a reason. And
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely.
I don't know what they do to solve that, at least in this series, because you're not going to see Porzingis. You shouldn't.
They said, oh, maybe he'll be in for game 4. Listen, if they don't need him, they're not going to use him, Chris. They need him for the finals. They're not going to use him.
Yeah. So I don't know how you solve that. I mean, you have to fight over the switch, and you got to try to fight over these picks, right, Mark? And maintain. Oh, they got to come from somewhere else, or start it differently. I don't know, but I didn't see too many adjustments on that. And they're not fighting through it. And we'll get to Tatum in a second. And so looking at Missoula too, and then I saw that. I mean, I saw what's the adjustment? We talked about this issue coming in where something's going to happen. They're going to be in tight games. And is he going to be able to make adjustments? Is he going to be able to Smolstrom the game and do what he needs to do? I didn't see it.
No, so. They kept doing, Chris, what they do. Okay, they do what they do. He doesn't really deviate from what they do. This is who they are, and like it or not, this is what we're gonna play. We've been playing it all year, and he feels as though they're good enough at what they do, Chris, that no one's gonna beat them 4 times playing that way. And maybe he's right. He might be right, but. It's this damn frustrating, Chris, when they play teams like Indiana, who you should be beating by 25 points in game 1, and Indiana has the lead, with 20 seconds to go and basically gives you the game.
So talk about that. Talk about that stretch. And I want to talk about Tatum in the fourth quarter as well, because there's a lot of discussion about that. But talk about that final stretch. And the other thing you made a good point to me during the game, because you hear this a lot. Well, Indiana shot 53%, but are they really going to shoot that percentage? And you had a theory on that.
They absolutely are going to continue to shoot that percentage because look at the types of shots they were getting, Chris. They were wide open pull-ups. They were underneath. They were putbacks underneath. They were going to the basket. They were wide open for a 3 or a deep.
Those 15, 20-foot shots.
Chris, those are high percentage shots, and they were getting them all night long. So you bet they're going to shoot 55, 60%. If those are the shots they're taking, they absolutely will continue to shoot like that. You're not playing defense to shut them down. If you're going to continue to allow that, this team will shoot 50% every game or over, and then you'll have a problem.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? They absolutely will continue. And Chris, that final stretch down the end, Indiana's got the lead, and they go down and take a bad shot and they allow the Celtics time to come back to get a shot at the other end. Instead of using the whole shot clock, they take a crazy 3. They don't make it. Boston comes down. Boston scores. I think it was a 2-point basket. Then Indiana, I think the ball gets tipped out of bounds, and now they're going to do a side out with 10 seconds to go. All he had to Carlisle to do was call a timeout. The ball would have went over the half-court line. They would have cut the ball in the Celtics' end of the court. Quick inbounds. They're going to follow you. You go to the line, hit one free throw, and the game's over. And Carlisle even said after the game,
Carlisle took it on the chin at the end of that game. Okay, he basically said, "Okay, look, I went away from the things that got us here for the whole game. So if you want to put it on anybody, put this on me." And I agree with that. I mean, Joe, they're going into Turner, they're getting the switch, they're getting the matchup they want all night long. All of a sudden, they go away from it. All of a sudden, they're shooting perimeter shots. Halliburton's trying to hit threes like he invented it in the fourth quarter. And to me, I don't understand how you can go away from something like that, especially Rick Carlisle. He's been in this league. He's been in this league a lot for a long time, Joe. And, there he is. Hey, Mark, you back with us?
Listen, Joe, you were right, and I did everything right earlier too. That my browser took control of my everything. And
Joe
shut me
says
off.
Mercury's in retrograde, right? And
It's
that
gotta
means
be
all
in
the electronic
retrograde.
stuff goes
Gotta be in
bad.
retrograde.
Yeah.
Yep.
So, Mark, I was just hitting on your point about Carlisle took it on the chin, right? He
Yep.
said, and he should. I mean,
Definitely should.
How do you go away from the things? I mean, this guy's been in the league a while. So, right? So, I mean,
Yeah, listen.
so you got that. Okay. So you're right. 55%, 53%. Yeah, they're going to keep shooting that. But I think the Celtics can be better.
Did you guys hear what I said about the end of the game and his game management at the end? Did that come through? Yeah.
I think
terrible.
so, but finish the point.
So, Chris, how as a professional coach do you not know you got a timeout in the bank? Call it, take the ball over half court, quick inbounds, they're going to follow you, hit one free throw, game's over. What the heck are you trying to do? You're trying to, instead, you're going to inbound the pass from your end of the court? Like, there was no need to do that.
Yeah.
I mean, a high school coach knows better than that. You're an experienced professional coach? Terrible. Terrible.
Well,
and Carlisle admitted it.
And they play with a lot of pace. I get that. But do you do that with under 5 minutes like this? Like, I mean, they had a lead.
No.
They didn't manage clock well either. It
was terrible.
I mean, they're still playing with that same kind of pace.
Yeah. The last minute, Chris, if he they had the lead pretty much the whole last minute. If he slowed the ball down and used up all the 24-second clock, you're right, Chris. There was no reason for them to be doing what they did. It was just, they basically handed you the game to take it to overtime. Granted, listen, Jaylen Brown hit a good shot, tough shot. He put the shot in. I give him kudos. But, Chris, the last 2-3 minutes of the game, you touched on tape. What happened with him the last 3 minutes of the game?
Let's get into that.
Regulation.
Let's talk about this, okay? Because we talked a lot about, and everybody's been talking about, what does Tatum need to be? You know, does Tatum need to be the guy, the star, the Curry, the take the ball and win the game? Okay, that play was drawn up for Brown. That play wasn't drawn up for Tatum. That wasn't just and let's kick it over to Brown in the corner as a lad because the play broke down. No. That play was drawn up for Jaylen Brown based on everything that Tatum was doing. So when we talk about, well, what does he need to be? And we say, can it be collective or does he have to take over a game, especially down the stretch like some of these other guys do? Let me give you the numbers, okay, for that fourth quarter. He had 4 points. He was 2 for 7, 0 for 3 from three-pointer. He didn't have any. He had 3 rebounds. Now,
Chris, what about some of the couple of turnovers he committed in the last 5 minutes?
And that's something that's not on here.
Not on. He threw the ball away. Remember?
Not only did he throw the ball away, then he committed a foul.
Yeah,
a bad foul. Oh. So you had a situation where Halliburton comes down, hits a 3-pointer. You come down, you got the opportunity, clean look, hit the 3. Clank. That's what Mark. I heard him clank. He was like, because you're a little ahead of me when I'm watching the game. So Mark, looking at these numbers, now they still win the game. Now overtime, he's 10 points, 2 for 4, 1 for 2 for 3-pointer, 5 for 5 for free throws. Some of that was during,
Yeah.
So I look at these and 1 steal, 1 rebound. So I look at these numbers, and I'm like, damn it, this is going to have to be collective. I mean, it's going to have to be because this kid, you're not going to solve that at this stage. I don't think you can solve that at this stage to say, well, let's flip the switch. Come on, Tatum, let's go. And he's pressing, doing the things I don't know. I mean, they're going to have to win collectively at this point. And on top of that, players are starting to notice this too, Mark, because Jaylen Brown in his post game, and it was very clear to me what he was talking about. Jaylen Brown in his post game said, well, hitting that shot at the end, I was in a good spot. I put up a shot, went in, and in overtime, JT finally got it going. JT woke up, and saying that JT woke up, I mean, that's basically calling him out because at this point in the season, these guys see that. They see, hey, look, we're on the cusp, and if it's not going to be now, when the hell is it going to be? And so to me, that's what I'm seeing out of Tatum. I would love to be able to see him be Curry and be, some of these guys, Edwards, and some of these guys that can finish a game. I would love for that to happen, but I don't think it's going to happen. I just don't, So
Chris, I don't listen. We've been saying this for how long now? That he just doesn't have that in him. And he still doesn't. I don't care that they're winning or lose. I don't care that they're winning, Chris. In the NBA, you got to be the man. To win a championship, you need somebody to be the man typically. Now, this year, it's falling into their lap. They used to always say in the old days, styles make fights, right? With boxing.
Yeah. Yep.
Well, the Nuggets are gone, and you can give me crap, Chris. The Nuggets are gone. They're out.
Oh, we'll get to that in a second.
Right? They got beat by Minnesota. But the Nuggets would have gave the Celtics problems, Chris, because of the style that they play. And they would have forced them to get into a different type of a style. With 5-6 minutes to go in the game, the games would have been tight. They would have been close, and there would have been a problem.
But Jaylen Brown did not mince words because they feel it. They taste it. They feel it right now. And they're, trying to light a fire in his ass. And the more he presses, the worse it is. That's saying, JT woke up in the overtime. He's got to be, look, it's got to be better. It just has to be better from him. Now, again, he does the intangible. You know what, Mark? At this point, you're right. It's going to take the whole group at this point because he's not going to put them there. But, and I say that, but the pushback on that is this. How about all the guys that are gone from the playoffs that do take over games? So we talk about Jokic, and you talk about Brunson and some Donovan Mitchell maybe, or you talk about some of these guys in the Western Conference or Booker, guys that are closers that can, and those guys are bounced though. They're bounced, Mark. So at this point, maybe that's overrated that he's got to be the star because all the stars are bounced out. I mean, Minnesota, they got collective. It's collective. But again, like I said, I
have a perfect road right now.
Boy, Mark, you're having all kinds of issues today with the equipment.
Retrograde. I don't know. Get off. Listen, the Celtics have a perfect road right now to the final. There's no excuse for them not to win it. But I'll make a prediction, Chris.
He's not a dog, period. Right? Is that they're not a dog?
But Chris, I'm going to make a prediction. Unless something strange happens and they all of a sudden win a championship and decide to become dogs now, which they won't, they're going to be the Boston Bruins. They're going to win one. And then they'll have these guys together for 4 or 5 more years like the Bruins did, and they will not win another championship with this particular group. They're lucky that Denver got knocked out because I'm telling you, Chris, they would not have beat Denver.
So, okay. So then we both agree that he's not a dog. Tatum's not a dog. He's not going to have that killer instinct, and he's not going to take a game over.
Chris, he goes to the basket, Chris.
Easy. With ease.
He goes up like a ballerina, though. Go up with force and take somebody's arm off, for goddamn sake.
Well, he can beat anybody to the rim.
They'll call a foul. He gets pissed off that he doesn't get fouls called because you're going up like a ballerina. If you went up with force and tried to take somebody's arm off and shove it through the rim with a dunk, they'll give you that foul.
And the bottom line is, even in overtime, the guy slipped, and then he takes who's that kid for them? McDonald, whatever his name is. He takes him. All he does is hold on to Tatum, and he gets the and one. So I mean, some of these points in the overtime, you gotta, Now, there's only one other thing I gotta point out because Mark mentioned it a couple of times. Denver's out. Who's back in? Who's in?
Minnesota's in. Minnesota beat him. I get it.
Joe, do you remember last week? Did you hear? Do you remember? Remember I said when everything.
Listen, I was wrong. Yeah. What are you gonna do? I'm not perfect.
Who was right though?
You were right. You were right. Wait a minute. Let me just clarify. why Denver lost.
Here we go.
Denver lost because Chris decided to be Eddie Mush from Bronx Tale. He said, I'm going to put some money on Denver. That'll guarantee they lose for me so I can say, talk about Minnesota. And guess what? He did it, and Denver lost.
You told me it was a gift. You said Denver with 5
It
is
was
a
a gift as long as you didn't touch it.
You know, Denver's a gift, he
As
says.
long as you
Arizona's a
didn't
gift.
touch it.
Well, he's a gift or a nightmare for me. It's never a gift for me. It's only a
No.
gift for everybody else. out there who
Absolutely.
doesn't
That's
touch
it.
So, and we can get into next week a little bit about, how we think they'll fare against Minnesota or Dallas, because Dallas won game 1. So, it's all up for grabs at this point. We'll see what happens. So, hey, listen, keep in touch. Let us know in Heated Hotline what you think about the Celtics. We're not watching the game tonight. We're not looking behind my shoulder. We want to see what happens. But, hey, when we come back, we're going to talk the other half of this B's and C's with the Bruins. No flipping.
Mark, I'm serious. I think I lost my mind.
Certainly, it was an exciting show.
I want Murray.
What?
That's
crap
it.
What is wrong with
Get him on this damn
you?
show.
Lost your mind tonight.
That's all I have to say.
Lost your mind.
What are you writing now?
So I'm working over here. You're talking about nonsense. I'm working.
That's why we are the real deal New England Field. It's going to be real.
Back in with Corso and Catone. Okay, Mark. So the Bruins, they're out. They lose to Florida 4-2. And in that game 6,
Yes.
geez, man, it was tied up with what was it, about 2-3 minutes left, something like that,
Yes.
or less.
Yeah.
And Swayman gets screened again. Puck goes in.
Have you ever seen a team screen their own goaltender as much as they did in that series, Chris?
No. I got in trouble at church.
Yeah, well, that's a whole nother issue. I wish I could show the viewers the text he sends me of him watching the game on his phone, in church while they got his son's senior graduation mass from high school. He's watching the Bruins.
What'd you have, the priest and a
But
headlock?
the game had the mass hadn't started yet, though. Nothing had started. It was
No, but I don't know what was going to happen if they went into overtime. Well, I mean, I know what would have happened. I would have been saying a few Our Fathers and a couple acts of contritions. Listen, so listen, I told the guy behind me, I said, hey, hockey's one of God's creations too. I mean,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So, Mark, looking at this team now, they're out. I don't think we thought they could. No, we were people out there that didn't think they could be Florida, and they shouldn't be Florida. They're not as good. Listen, I think Florida's gonna, if they get through this New York series, I think they'll win it all. So, so okay. Going forward now, I mean, we know what went wrong. We covered this. We understand. I mean, there's issues in their end. There's defensive issues. They got a huge issue at center, okay, and where they're going to need to improve. But let's start with this. I'm going to give you the unrestricted free agents, okay, that are on this team, and you tell me is there a priority for any of this?
Mm-hmm.
Jake DeBrusk,
Let him go.
Heinen,
Let him go.
Maroon,
Let him go.
cheap money. You can bring him back. I like
Yeah,
that.
but I'd let him, maybe, but
Van
there's no need to.
No, Van Riemsdyk.
Van Riemsdyk, Chris, was a quality, low-cost signing. If you could get him for the same money, I would probably take him back.
Forbort,
No,
Grizzly.
no,
God,
absolutely
no.
not.
You
No,
don't even, that's my Bentley on this team. That's my Juwan Bentley. Shattenkirk.
no.
No, see,
Ah,
I don't,
You know what? No, but he's cheap, Chris. So because you got to figure out how to get lower on that salary cap to try to bring in some guys. So
Especially them.
You could bring, especially them. So you could bring him back cheap. I'm okay with that. You're right.
And the big one, Jeremy Swayman.
Well, of course,
Let's
they're bringing
talk
him
about
back.
this.
Of course,
Well,
they're
let's
bringing
not,
him back.
you know what, though, Mark? Not so fast. Let's
All
talk
right.
about this. First of all, what's it going to take to get him back? Because if he's looking for $8 million per 8 years at 8, something like that, I don't know. I don't know if I do it. I don't know if I do it because, look, go back. Just go back at the goalies. I mean, this goalie Bob is like Skarnecchia with the offensive line. You know what I mean? they just keep pouring out good goaltending. I mean, you go from Raycroft, Thomas, Rask, Ullmark, Swayman. I mean, that's the level of goaltending you had all throughout the year. So, are you afraid that
And
they
you've only
won't
and you've only won one cup with all those guys, by the way.
Exactly.
Just corrected.
Yeah, well, okay, Rask wet himself, okay, a
Yes,
couple times. So
several
you say that
times. Several times.
So, okay, I get it. But look, you had Swayman standing on his head, and they still couldn't do it. Look, I'm not paying $13 million for my goalie situation because Ullmark's going to be.
No, you have to get rid of all. You have to trade Ullmark.
Yeah. Well, here's the
And
problem.
then you can pay Swayman.
Here's the problem. Somebody needs to talk to Ullmark and be like, dude, like, don't you want to play? Do you actually want to play? Do you want to be the man? Because he doesn't want to leave, Mark.
No, he doesn't. And I don't know what that's about. I really don't.
My kids like the school. I like the area. They've embraced me. And you know what? Listen, it's refreshing. It's refreshing as hell. Joe bitches about this all the time, about the how the players are today and all that they're the intangibles keep them here. But come on, man. I mean, don't you want to play? Tell your kid, don't worry about it. You'll find new friends. Put your crap in the car and let's go.
What is wrong with you?
Get your crap, get your stuff and get in the car. We're driving to LA. That's it. Let's go. You know what I mean? No, but seriously, I mean, they're going to have to move. You can't have them both. So he's got the no trade clause, but there's 16 teams that they could trade to.
Yeah. Yeah, no, Chris, listen, in my opinion, you can't come back with both goalies. Whether you're going to make the decision of not to sign Swayman and keep Ullmark for 2 more years and then decide what you're going to do with goalie, I don't know. But either way, Chris, I know you said not so fast. Well, either way, you can only come back with one of those guys.
Yeah.
So they got to decide which one it is. And to your point, you either got to figure out the 16 teams he can be traded to, who wants him, what can you bring back for him, or you're gonna have to let Swayman go. Or you have to let Swayman go. Well, you could trade him.
Do a sign trade.
Sign trade. Yeah, you could.
Let me ask you this though:
Yeah.
What do you guys think of like the ending of the game? How they kind of sent off Swayman? Did it look like the fans and people were like almost saying goodbye, or? I didn't
I don't know.
You know what I mean? Were they applauding the fact?
I don't know if I caught. I don't.
No. I remember now, Joe. Yeah. No, what they were doing is giving him props for the kind of series he had.
That's what I thought. But in that regard, though, it begs the question of like, does that mean he's more important?
Well, he is. Don Sweeney tipped. That's a good point. Don Sweeney tipped his hat a little bit in his end of season because he made it a point to say, maybe Ullmark changes his mind. So that tells you the direction
his mind about
the no trade.
The no trade. Okay.
So that kind of gives you an indication as to how management's looking at this. But Mark, I'll be honest with you. Keep Ullmark. Keep Ullmark and sign and trade Swayman. Because I'll tell you what, I'll take a beefier defense in front of them that I pay out the money to, and a goal, because you look at some of these goaltenders that have won. I mean, Vegas's guy last year they won the cup with. This was not a top 5 goalie in the league. No. I mean, the kid from Florida, same thing.
Yeah, he's not. Yeah, he's hot now, but he's not. I wouldn't consider him a top 5 goalie in the league. No, nope.
So that's why I say not so fast. I mean, and the kid in Providence too. He's going to push people too.
Chris, so listen, I mean, at the end of the day, you have to figure out how do you get younger? How do you bring in the pieces to make this team better? You have no draft picks for the next couple of years,
right?
So you got a couple here and there, but so you can't count on the draft and bringing in guys that way. You're gonna have to do it. You're right, Chris. You're gonna have to trade him, bring in a couple of mid-level free agents by letting these guys go and free up some money. You're gonna have to figure out ways, but the way you're currently constructed, Chris, you're not a Stanley Cup team. You're not,
no. Especially on defense. You need a bulkier defense and center.
But Chris, you're gonna sell out.
The center position stinks.
Oh, it stinks. But Chris, are they starting to get like the Red Sox? They sell out every game.
That's
The
what they
selling
want.
of the selling of the merchandise is crazy, right? So does Jacobs really care as long as the seats are filled? You make the playoffs every year, you win a round, maybe you get to the second round,
And that's why management's safe. That's why Sweeney's safe and these guys are safe, because that's what the owner cares about. Cares about being in play for this President's Cup every year, and then 1-2 rounds and you're out.
Because Chris, if they were going to get rid of the coach, wouldn't they have gotten rid of him already? You think?
Yeah, the coach, but listen, Sweeney. You're talking about Neely.
No. I get Sweeney, but I'm talking about at the very least the head coach. But I don't think he's going anywhere. You would have already made the move.
No, I don't think so either. But again, a lot of teams, Sweeney would be out the door. You're talking about a decade. They haven't won.
You're right. Sweeney would be out the door, Chris. With a lot of other organizations, he'd be gone. You're right.
So I think it's a great point. I think they got a lot to do. They got a lot to do, and they got to really address center and see what they're going to do with their goaltending, because that's the only place they're going to be able to get money from. So, B's and C's was presented by CORSO Law Group. CORSOLawGroup.com. When we come back, buckle up. I hope all his stuff is working, because
we're trying over here tonight.
Catone's Comments is next.
No one ever thinks they'll be in need of a criminal or traffic lawyer, but things happen. Whether it's a traffic ticket or more serious issue, go to CORSOLawGroup.com and talk with these expert attorneys.
Time for Catone's Comments!
So, I know everyone. It's the Celtics. It's the NBA, and everyone's all excited. Celtics could finally win maybe a championship this year. But listen, I just have to say this: the play and the style of play in the NBA, and how these guys react to things during the game, drives me absolutely out of my mind. And it's even magnified by 20 in the playoffs. Okay. So Anthony Edwards, the guy, the guard from Minnesota. Minnesota wins. They knock off the defending champions. Carry yourself with some class and some dignity. You won a big game. You're 22 years old. You haven't won anything, kid. What have you won? You've won nothing. You're 22 years old. You're wet behind the ears. I don't know what you think you did. You're talking trash to the Denver fans. You're talking trash to Jokic. You're talking trash to the coach at Denver after the game or late in the fourth quarter of the game. You're making comments after the game in the press conference about about Charles Barkley. Like, listen, you haven't won anything, kid. You haven't won a thing. So grow up and handle yourself with class and some dignity. And then if you watch these games, oh my God. Listen, Joe, you were out in California. You were part of that Actors Guild. These guys should be part of the Actors Guild in LA, because you can't even blow on somebody. They fall on the ground. And they're rolling around like it's WWE wrestling. Like they broke they're paralyzed. They can't walk. All the guy did was touch your arm, and you're on the ground like somebody just took you out with 4 chairs and a table. Like it's wrestling. Are you kidding me? The guy last night, the Dallas game, Luka Doncic. All he did, Chris, was out of his mind. He kept texting me. All he did was cry the entire first half about calls. The Celtics have one of the biggest crybabies in basketball. Tatum cries about every single call. Whenever he's touched, tapped, somebody blows on him, he's complaining to the ref. Listen, toughen up. Okay? Grow a pair and play basketball. Okay? Play basketball, because you're a professional. It's a professional sport. So I don't want to hear this stuff about, in different areas, this, that. These guys are different types of athletes than back in the day. Oh, don't give me that. These guys couldn't hang with guys like Kobe and those guys, because they were dogs. They were dogs. And they would run right over guys like Tatum and Anthony Edwards. They'd run right over him. It wouldn't even be a question. And who's the leader of that pack? And it's my pet peeve. I can't stand him. The leader of that pack is LeBron James. This all started with LeBron James because James cries about every single call. Every time down the court, he cries. I can't take it anymore. It's to the point I'm having trouble watching professional basketball games. That's to the point I'm at. And I love the Celtics. But I'm at the point I don't know how much more of professional basketball I can watch because of it. It's hard to watch. Never mind the style of play. I'm not even going to get into the style of play and the fact that nobody plays defense. But just watching it and watching what these guys do, and they're crying for fouls. Chris, it's mind-boggling. It's frustrating, and it drives me out of my mind watching a basketball game. And the last couple of games I've watched, it took me over the top.
Listen, you're so, like
We can't
why
let him
can't
watch. We can't let him
What?
watch a FIFA soccer game.
No, they need to be in the Actors Guild.
Oh, they are actually, but
can you imagine him watching a soccer game?
Oh, no,
Oh,
I
man.
watch soccer, but soccer's different. Soccer's a different type of sport. It's expected. I get it. I understand. That's the culture that comes from Europe and all of that. That's how they play the sport. But basketball is different, Chris. I mean, come on. This
you're
is like
right.
the new thing now. I can't watch it.
the only difference in soccer is that like they have to sell it because the ref is so far away. Usually, these guys are on top
You're
of
right.
each other, and they're so big. The NBA players, it's hard to see them not fall and get hit. And
The soccer sickening. I don't even want to.
it's sickening because you see it in close
But
up.
Chris, you were the one
can't-
yesterday. You had enough a donkey from Doncic. What is it? Is he pronounced it Doncic?
I don't think you're
from
sensitive.
Dallas?
I don't think you need to get in touch with your sensitive side like I do.
What? What are you talking about?
Breathe, Mark, meditation,
What?
I think Doncic sucks. Okay. I think he sucks. Listen. Okay.
Listen, what game are you watching?
Listen, I don't care.
What game are you
put
watching?
put 1,000 points in. I can't stand. I hate that style of play. Like, you want to, yeah. He's a good offensive player. I got it. I get it. As he lumbers up and down the court, he looks like he ought to have 8 knee braces on. The guy, I don't even understand how they let him score. I don't follow it at all. How they let this guy go to the rim. I can't follow it. But you want to talk about a guy who bitches and moans and complains. I wanted to throw up watching that Minnesota-Dallas game because, listen, when you're watching a game and you don't and the guy you dislike a guy more than Kyrie, that guy's pretty bad right there. And I'm watching this guy bitch at his teammates, call them out. I've never seen a guy dog defense as much as him. He's under the rim. He's letting guys go up for dunks. He's not challenging anybody. He's throwing the ball away. Then he's bitching at his teammates.
So you basically agree with me then?
I do agree with you. I do.
Oh,
I just like
Joe!
to tease you, Of course I agree with you. These guys are babies. They're big babies. What was the game where LeBron James was on the ground? He was on the ground as if somebody,
He's terrible.
as if he lost his best friend. It's like if the referee shot his best friend or something. Oh, crying and bad. I can't, How can you not call that? Really?
Here, I got the pronunciation for you though.
What?
For Mark.
Go ahead, Joe.
Doncic.
I love this.
Oh, listen to this crowd over here.
What is it? Doncic?
Doncic.
Doncic. I don't know what it is.
How about jerk? How about jerk to everybody?
Oh, here
If
we
I was
go.
his teammate, I'd not even punch him. I'd slap him across the face.
Here we
Don't get
go.
out of my face, you jerk.
There we
like-
go.
No, I'm with you. And LeBron, you're right. LeBron James is the worst, Mark.
And he started this culture, Chris. It wasn't like that. He started this nonsense
well,
with
Tatum
the
sucks
complaining
too with it.
and Tatum's right behind him.
He's been better this year.
Yeah.
He's been better
Yeah.
this year, Tatum, but
Mm.
still not. I don't like when it disrupts the transition game. So you bitch about not getting a foul. Meanwhile, the other team's back 5-on-4 because
Yeah.
you're talking to the official
You're
in
right.
the
you're right.
playoffs.
Right.
Yeah, I could tell that when the Celtics played Minnesota, which I still think it'll be Minnesota, I'm not going to like Edwards very much.
Listen, Chris, I'm going to tell you something. The Celtics, I know you're worried about Minnesota if they make it to the final.
Well, I'm worried a little less now that I saw what Dallas did.
Yeah, I'm not worried about Minnesota, Chris, because of the style of play. Listen, they won Game 7 against Denver. Denver would win that game 9 out of 10 times. Denver missed, Chris, wide open shots.
They did.
It wasn't like Minnesota. Everyone, they played, great defense in the second half. They shut them down. What great defense? They just missed open shots.
Jokic was gassed.
He was gassed. The coach messed up, never gave him a rest, and they missed open shots. That's not defense. They just missed open shots.
Yeah. So, Mark, you need to meditate a little bit. You need to get in touch with your sensitive side. You got to let the 80s go, man. Let the past go, man. Let the 80s go. There's no Rambus anymore. There's no Parrish and Lambert. Those days are friggin' gone, man.
I miss those days. You do realize that's why I like Jokic so much, because he reminds me of a guy from the 80s. That's why I like him.
Well, you know what you should do? Sit with Bill Walton, choke up, and go down memory lane, man. Go down memory lane.
What's wrong with you tonight?
Good stuff, Mark. Catone's Comments was presented by Corso and Catone. Saturdays, noon to 1 Eastern. Sponsorships are available. Make sure you email us, corso.catone@gmail.com. Hey, we come back on a Welcome in the Nation. Pat's Nation is next.
Mark, I'm serious. I think I lost my mind.
It was an exciting show.
I want Murray.
What?
That's
crap
it.
What is wrong?
Get him on this damn
You
show.
lost your mind tonight.
That's all I have to say.
Lost your mind.
What are you writing now?
So I'm working over here. You're talking about nonsense. I'm working.
That's why we are the real deal New England Field. It's going to be real.
Back in with Corso and Catone. Oh, boy, it is real. It is real. This is as real as it can get, my friend. It's as real. And what else is real is football seasons get closer and closer. They got what?
Inching closer.
One of 10 or 11 OTAs down.
Yeah.
Want to talk about it?
Let's do it.
Pat's
Let's do
Nation.
it.
Joe? Okay, Mark. So, let's temper this. Hey, listen, I'm itchy. I'll take whatever I can get. I've made no secret about the fact that football is king.
Of course it is.
I mean, that's it.
Hey.
So, looking at these OTAs, and again, shorts and t-shirts. How, so let's temper it. But the vets got the work, didn't they?
They did.
What'd you
They
think
got
of
the work.
that?
They did. Yeah, they did. And I liked it. Chris, but no Matthew Judon.
Yeah, but he's never been there. That's not uncommon for him.
No, I guess you're right. But yeah, the vets were there. And the vets, Chris, some of the vets were making comments about, the difference in OTA without Bill. And,
that irritated you.
Oh, it did irritate me. Keon White, who was drafted last year, and was he a second round pick, Chris, or third round? Third round. Second round pick by Bill. Should have never went in the second round. But
if he was second round pick, go ahead.
But anyway, he says, he talks about the difference between the two. He said, well, at least we're not getting sworn at every other play. He said, so that's different, right? Like taking a shot at Bill. Listen, pal, the guy drafted you. You had no business being drafted where you were, yet you want to take a shot at him. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
Really?
Listen, I'm with you. I mean, he was taken in the second round, 46th overall.
46th overall, and you're complaining. The man took you 46th.
That's the only
and you
team
shouldn't have
that
went
was going to do that. That's the only team that would have done that in the NFL.
Yes.
Which is an indictment on Belichick. But I will say this. Mark, it goes back to what you were talking about in Catone's comments. The new player today. They can't handle it. They can't hack it. can't be told that you sucked on that play. You stunk. Do it again. Do it. I mean, I can't stand it, Brady. Run it again. Remember?
Yeah. Yep.
I mean,
Yeah.
so okay, but the veterans get to work. I look at that and I say, well, okay, I hope that that's not indicative. I hope that that's not going to be what we see. I'm really hoping that this team plays their rookies, that gets their guys on the field. And I think they will. I mean, I think it's a matter of guys understand the routine. They understand, that have been there before, so you can you guide things through much better. But looking at the quarterbacks, okay, did it surprise you at all? So you had Brissett getting the majority of the work, which we saw that would be the case.
We knew that was going to happen. Yeah, we knew that.
What was a little surprising to me is who was getting the next amount. The second. Who went out with the second team every time? And I don't understand why he's still on this goddamn team. Is Bailey Zappi?
Was it Zappi? Yeah.
Why is he still here?
I think it was only Zappi, Chris, because he probably at this point knew the playbook to run some of those drills. Maybe I don't know. But
they have a brand new OC.
Yeah, I don't know what that was about. I don't know.
They have a whole new system.
Listen, if Zappi's on this team, Chris, that's a disgrace. It's a disgrace.
Why is he still here?
Because you don't need him.
I mean, even if you cut him and Milton doesn't work out, which Zolak talked about this week that he doesn't like.
Zolak didn't like him. They don't like how he looks now. Zolak said he's got a cannon of an arm, but everything he does is not an NFL quarterback from what he observed in OTAs. Everything he did was not what an NFL quarterback does. And I'm
he's a project.
Okay. He said, of course he's a project.
I like him to play tight end. I mean, that's what I want.
And if they're going to keep him as a quarterback, Chris, maybe you put I don't know, maybe you put him on the practice squad year one. I don't know. Just to see if he does develop.
I mean, maybe the school of thought with Zappi is, okay, well, if we're in a situation where Brissett goes down and we don't really want to get May in there yet, what are we going to do? Go to Milton?
No, you can't go to Milton.
But damn it, Mark, listen. Zappi's horrible in the locker room. I mean, this is a kid who thinks he should be playing.
Yeah, so that's my issue with him.
And I don't want him around.
No, that's my issue with him, Chris. He thinks he should be playing. That's my issue with him.
Yeah, I don't want him around because of that. And by the way, just, if you're in that situation and you go into the season and Milton just, you want to cut him, there are plenty of guys you can go and get off the scrap heap that have had some. I don't know if Flacco's playing anywhere. I don't know. There are guys you can bring in as an emergency quarterback.
Sure, there are.
That you'd be okay with sticking in there, not okay, but rather than Drake May. So I don't understand why that bothered me some. It did. You make anything about this hitch in his throw, Drake May? Everybody's
listen, Chris. Here's the thing. I think they're just trying to break him down with his footwork. They're trying to break him up from bottom up, right? And I don't think he has a hitch in his throw necessarily, Chris. I just don't.
I see it. It
is, Chris. But if you watch his live game action at North Carolina, it's not as noticeable in real game time, like in actual game motion where he's actually moving quickly and throwing the ball quickly. He's not just like, you know what I mean? I don't know.
Like a Penix where he's winding up and it's all deliberate. It's just a elongated motion, throwing
exactly.
motion.
But I think, Chris, even the little hitch, they can fix that. That's not a big deal.
I'm not worried about that. I'm not worried with the hitches. I mean, Patrick Mahomes runs out, throws it sidearm, underneath, underhanded, whatever the hell it takes.
Chris, the guy who made the big thing out of the hitch was Bedard.
Again, I'm not worried about the hitch. Now I will say that if you pat the ball, the little hitch, it kind of gives away the timing of when you're gonna have your set transfer and release of the ball. Yeah, okay, but they can work around that.
Chris, I will say this: what do you think about? He said he's healthy. He's ready to go. He wasn't healthy last year one day, but he's 100% healthy.
Is this going to irritate me?
Juju Smith-Schuster.
Yeah, you know what?
Healthy.
And he also said, last year I was 60%, but I recall him saying in the summer, he'll be ready to go. He'll be ready to go. He's junk. He's junk. Okay. I don't want to see him on this team. And by the way, when they went over the depth chart, Butte wasn't even listed.
So is he even out? Was he even at OTAs? Is
I
he
mean,
on
I
the
saw
roster?
I saw number 80 out there.
Okay, I don't know.
He's on the roster. I mean, he's a member of this football team.
Okay, I don't know why he wouldn't be mentioned because hey,
I think Smith-Schuster stinks.
yeah, I think he stinks too.
I
I
think
do
he
too.
stunk before. I don't think he was that great before. So,
Yeah.
I'm
How
not
about
sure.
Devontae Parker, Chris, retired? And I know we're talking about OTAs, but I'm only bringing him up because he was one of our top receivers last year.
You know,
We
that's
gave him
just-
an extension. An extension. we gave him.
That shows you right there how really bad our wide receiver. But Mark was not mistaken when he said, "Oh yeah, our receiver room is like one of the worst." And I listen to these guys say it now on the radio. Oh my God! It just goes to show you, hey, these are the guys that said we can win. You know, these guys aren't that bad. We can win with these guys. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Okay.
He retired.
He retired. He had so much left in the tank.
And real quick, before we get to break at the Yankees Red Sox, does Mayo it doesn't seem like he has no clue to you when you watch him, when you listen to him talk, like he's trying to please the whole room? Or we just so beat up by Bill?
He's a rookie head coach, Chris, and I think it's intentional that he's trying to do things as opposite as he can. And whether or not that's because he really doesn't have a clue or not, I don't know. But I think some of the comments and some of the things he does say, Chris, he's trying to be intentional because he don't want to sound like Bill. And maybe it comes across as you say, does he not have a clue? I don't know. We'll
asking
see.
him about the footwork, Drake, man. How's he look? He look good. I mean, he's working hard out there. I'm like, okay. Might as well just wear a sign that says, I have no idea what I'm talking about from the offensive side of the ball.
No, and he doesn't. But, Chris,
No
that
clue.
may not be a bad thing because he won't meddle. He'll let the offensive guys do what they do.
I've gone to bed with happier thoughts, Mark. So we'll see what happens as this progresses over. Let's hear from you and Heated Hotline on that. But Pat's Nation was presented by CORSO Law Group, Arizona's leading criminal and traffic law firm, CORSOLawGroup.com. Allow us to be your voice. Hey, we come back. Step up to the plate. Yankees versus Red Sox. No flipping.
No one ever thinks they will be in need of a criminal or traffic lawyer, but things happen. CORSO Law Group is Arizona's leading criminal and traffic law firm. Their 20-plus years experience and attention to detail has helped thousands of people who found themselves in a situation in Arizona. Whether it's a traffic ticket or more serious issue,